When's the last time it was you recording? When was the last time it was in person?
I think it's on.
When was the last time it was in person?
Yeah, it's on. Yeah, it's on. It just didn't say anything because the volume was off. Okay. So this is a beautiful piece. Yeah. Beautiful piece. Okay. So we're here live from the White Shul trailer after the 10 o'clock Marv. Our unusual time of meeting. And we got everyone. Big schos. Okay. So very choshev Maimer Pei in the Yerech Moadim on Beis. He's talking about over here Hoshana Raba. So the big question is that we do 7 hakavos. The question is why 7? Where does this come from? Number 1. Number 2 is what is Hoshana Raba? What is it about? What is it even? What is it about? What is it? What's going on over here? So Rabbeinu Bechaya in his other sefer, not the one al Torah, but in his Kara Kemach, excellent sefer, in Erech Arava. So he says that this 7th day of Arava is the 21st day of Tishrei, corresponding to the Shem Hashem in Gematria, Yud Vavke, and therefore it's called Hoshana Rabbah, he says. And it says it's Yedua that this day is the Tachlis HaChag. It's the whole purpose of Sukkot. This is the culmination, and this is what it's all about. And he says, furthermore, we have 70 cows, the Korbanos, corresponding to the 70 nations of the world, which Shahayu Mismatim V'holchim, they decrease, right? As we learn according to Shammai in Shabbos Chaf Aleph, why according to him we go down on Ner Chanukah, not like we don't pass on the way, but that's the side point. But we see that Hoshana Rabbah, according to Rabbeinu Bechaya, is Tachlis HaChag. This is what Sukkot is about. It's all about Hoshana Rabbah. So the obvious question is, Sarachin, what is so special about Hoshana Rabbah that it is the Tachlis of the Chag? It's the culmination. It's what it's all about. Hoshana Rabbah. What is it over here? So this is a very important question to go into, right? Now, also, we have these 70 korbanos over here. The Sefer Hamanig also discusses this. And he says this is Tachlis Achag, Tachlis Al-Kafa, V'Tashlumi HaParim, Shivim Kenegin Shivim Umos. Same exact idea. So what is it with these 70 korbanos over here, Hoshana Rabbah, Tachlis Achag? What's going on over here? Something more going on. So we could explain that these 7 hakavos that we do based on the Torah, what the Torah says. The Torah writes in Siman Tafresh Samach, he says that there's a minog to go around the bima once every single day. Take the Sefer Torah, we know the story by the bima, and we surround it. On the 7th day, though, we do 7 times. Why Zeichel HaMikdash? Okay, very nice. So they did 7 hakavos in the base of Mikdash. Why 7? Okay, we know the Mishnah in Sukkah teaches us, says the Torah, every single day they did a hakaf on the Mizbeach 1 time. On the 7th day, it was 7 times. It's a Mishnah in Sukkah. Comes along the Yerushalmi over there, Perek Dalet Halacha Gimel, and says, Zecher liYericha. We do the hakafas to remember what happened at Yericha. So no one here was around when we had our Chabura on Sefer Yeshua, which was unbelievable stuff. I'm going to pull up at the end of this, hopefully, document more horrors on the Sefer Yericho. Yericho, basically, long story short, they had very tall walls, and there was a miraculous nace that occurred. They won around 7 times. There are a lot of 7s over there. And on the 7th time, it sunk into the ground. Not only that, the wall was so big that if the ruins would have remained, they wouldn't be able to cross over. It went into the ground. Mamish nace, recordings, rabbiban.com. Amazing stuff, Yeshua. It was very tedious. I typed up the whole thing on the first 7 prakim, 150 pages in a Word document, over 500 footnotes. 7 prakim. There's so much behind what's going on. But we see from the Yerushalmi that these hakafos trace back historically to what occurred at Yericho. Also, the Gra over there says that he brings this Yerushalmi, quotes it, and says the hakafos are to commemorate Yericho. On the 7th day, we do 7 times. Also the Vilna Gaon. So he explains, he goes through, he quotes the psukim in Yeshua Perek Vav about the whole story with Yericho, and when they were coming out of the Midbar, going to Eretz Yisrael, they had to get into Yericho, but the walls were there. Whole story, a lot going on. He brings the whole story. Fine, whole story we know. So the question is, what is the connection between these hakavos and Yericho? What on earth do these hakavos have to do with Yericho? What's going on over here? Right? So that's the question. That's the obvious question that has to be asked. What's the shaykhus? So shaykhus is like this. The Rabbeinu Bechaya continues over there, and he says it's Yedua that this day is the Tachlis HaChag, and this is what it's all about. These hakavos, it's all about this 70, 70, and they would decrease. So these hakavos allude to v'hine hakavos lirmos lahem kaliyah v'hakarasa min ha'olam. These hakavos allude to a destruction, similar to Yericho. The walls were completely destroyed. Every single day they surrounded it, and then they kept going. It was destruction. So the hakavos that Klal Yisrael did every single day, and the seventh day they did it 7 times. This alludes to the Shechina, says the Rabbeinu Bachai. And therefore there was Midas Hadin that fell on Yericho, and the wall fell underneath. And so too, when it comes to Klal Yisrael and the Mikdash, we get our kapara through the Mizbeach. The Midas Hadin will fall on the enemies, on our enemies, and they won't be able to come close to Klal Yisrael. Similarly, in the future, continues the Rabbeinu Bachaya, the Shechina will come back to the Kodesh Kodashim, and the Midas Hadin will then transfer and go back to our enemies again. That tries to cause us trouble. So the hakavos that we do nowadays is symbolic and alludes to the future, that the wall of Edom will fall and it will be a complete eradication, a complete destruction. So these
have going to happen. That's an avur.
That's what he's saying. That it will happen similar to Yericho. The walls fell and we were able to go in. So too over here, when we do on Hoshana Raba or in general, when we make a circle around the bima, we have this in mind. This is mamish going to be that we're going to end up being victorious. So we see that the hakavos that were done in the Mikdash are a zeicher. They remember the hakavos of Yericho and the wall coming down. And that alludes to the Midas Hadin, which will go on our enemies, and we have no problem with Klal Yisrael. So too, when we do the hakavos nowadays as well, it all goes back to Yericho. In the future, the wall of Edom will fall. All of our enemies will be completely destroyed. Anyone who tries to harm us, and they try to harm us for no reason, will be destroyed. Now, why specifically is this done on Hoshana Raba as opposed to any other time? So the Rabbeinu Bachaya says, so it's clear from what the Rabbeinu Bachaya rather started with, that this day is, we have the 70 Purim correspondent to the 70 Umos, which decrease every single day of Sukkot less. You start with 13 and then you work your way down. So now, why do they decrease? Why is it usually we say increase? Malim b'kodesh ve'in we'll read them. Why do the korbanos go down? This is the base of Mikdash. The korbanos used to go down. Why? The answer is, this alludes to the concept that the nations that try to prosecute us will end up decreasing. They'll end up going down, getting lower. Like Rashi explains in Parshas Pinchas Chav Tes Yud Ches. He says that the Parya Chag are 70. Can I get the Shivim Umos Shemesmatim V'Holchim Siman Kli Alehem? It's symbolic of their destruction, especially Hoshana Raba. That this is the completion of bringing all the korbanos, which demonstrate that there's going to be a decrease and there's going to be a destruction. And this alludes to the ultimate destruction and eradication of those who try to harm us. This is also clear from the Medrash Tehillim. The Medrash Tehillim goes through the whole, basically the history between all the Yom Tovim now that we have. And then it says that we don't know if we're going to be victorious or not. No one knows what the story is. Goes through the whole story over here. We don't know who's going to be victorious. We hold a dalaminim, we're going to be victorious. Okay. The Medrash Tehillim continues and says, once the first day of Yontif has, we're carrying a dalaminim. We know Klal Yisrael is going to be victorious. The Kevan Sheyagia Yom Hoshana Raba. Once Hoshana Raba comes along, we take the Arvei Nachal, we do the Hakavos 7 times. The Chaz in the Beis HaKnesses, he's like a Malach Eloikim. The Sefer Torah is in his hand. Everyone's circling around, similar to the Mizbeach, and we say Anu Hashem Moshiach, etc. Miyad Malchi Ashari Smeichim. The Malachim are happy, and they say Klal Yisrael was victorious. Nichsu Yisrael. They say that we're victorious. So we clearly see from this Medrash Tehillim as well that the completion of the victory of Klal Yisrael has to do with the, in comparison to those who tried to harm us, occurs on Hoshana Rabbah. That's when the Malachim say that Klal Yisrael is victorious. That's Hoshana Rabbah. So he says we could add, besides from this symbolism, this siman on Hoshana Rabbah of this eradication, this destruction, Hoshana Rabbah is a day that there's going to be destruction in the future for them as well. Because it says, the Torah writes in Siman Tav Sadi, he says from B'Shem Rav Hai, that Tchiyas HaMesim in the future will occur Nisan, right? Nisan Niglu, Nisan Asidin Ligal. It was all in Nisan. So comes out that, and then the Torah continues, that the Gogug Magog will happen in Tishrei. Getting a little foreshadowing of what's going to happen over here. Therefore, Nisan, Shabbos Chol HaMoed, the Haftorah is Atzmois Yeveshos, right? Nisan, because Tchiyas HaMesim, bones, right? Resurrection. However, on Tishrei Shabbos Chol HaMoed, what are we laying over there? We laying about Gog Magog and Yecheskel. So we see that this victory of Gog Magog will occur in which month of the year? Tishrei. Bingo. That's why the Haftorah is on Tishrei for Gog Magog. It's all Tishrei. Come back to Tishrei.
That's why Hoshana Raba was saying.
Correct. It's during Tishrei.
Yericho, and that brings us to hopefully we'll do that to our enemies now.
Correct. Tishrei. So comes along the Sefer Shalmi told, then he states it a step further. He says, I heard from Rabbi Yisrael Misalant, and he's quoting all the people. He heard it from B'Shem of Chaim Volozhin, B'Shem the guy. He's going to the Ikar Milchama of Gog Magog is going to happen on Hoshana Raba during a time period of 3 hours. That is the main difficulty that will happen. Someone who's going to be in the sukkah will be saved. That's what David HaMelech says in Tehillim when he says, Ki yitzpaneni b'sukkah b'yom ra yatzdireni. We know that line. B'yom ra, what's that referring to? That's referring to Gog Magog. And through the mitzvah of Sukkah, Hoshana Rabbah will be saved. So we see that the Milcham of Gog Magog will happen on the day of Hoshana Rabbah itself. What tremendous symbolism that we have over here. Then he quotes one of my favorites, Svarim HaKadoshim, which I went through cover to cover as well. Kuntris Binyani Chagasukkos V'Simchas Torah. I went through all 5 volumes. Rabbi Karelinstein, he's unbelievable. Rabbi Olshan actually quotes him from time to time. And he says a beautiful idea, B'Shem Rav Chaim Kanievsky, and his parish to Perik Shira. And he says like this, from the Midrash Talpios, he says, Gogug Magog, the gematria of Gogug Magog, what do you think? 70. Coincidence? I think not. Unbelievable. This is connected to Shivim Umos HaOlam. And then that's when the Gog Magog will be victorious over the 70 Umos HaOlam. Unbelievable. They're all going to come to wage war. Klal Yisrael, not going to work out. Hoshana Rabbah came. We're going to be victorious this time. So therefore, well, we usually always are victorious, but we're going to be completely victorious. No more of all this stuff happening. So we see from over here that the Milcham of Gog Magog will occur on Hoshana Rabbah itself, and the Geula will occur on Hoshana Rabbah. We see even more Gog Magog in Gematria is 70, corresponding to the 70 Umos, like we said, because Gog Magog will rule over the 70 Umos. So it comes out that the downfall will occur on Hoshana Rabbah of these 70 Umos. Beautiful idea. What does he say in the footnote? He says that he brings from Rav Chaim Kanievsky over there that we say in Hoshanos Kel Moshiach, Hoshana na Shaloi Sha'os, we say. That refers to Gog Magog.
I shut it open.
Yeah, Hoshana Shaloi Sha'os. What's that referring to? Gog Magog, because as far as say the Milcham of Gog Magog will last for 3 hours. Unbelievable. In the Hoshanas itself, apparently. Hoshana Shaloi Sha'os. I have to look that up. I can't even believe such a thing. Wow. I'm not holding the Hoshanas Baal Peh. But unbelievable idea. Unbelievable idea. So that's Shim's with Rabbeinu Bechaya that we circle around, and because that has to do with Yericho, which alludes to the destruction of these Umos. And that's which will occur on this time when you have the war of Gog Magog. Now, in the Kuntris he brings over there, he says it's well known that many enemies of Klal Yisrael fell on Hoshana Rabbah. You can look at this historically in Nuremberg trials, or whatever happened there. Where there were 10 Nazis that were hung on a tree. That happened on Hoshana Rabbah. So unbelievable stuff over here. So he brings that horror as well. Now comes out that when Rabbeinu Bechaya said that Hoshana Rabbah is considered Tachlis HaChag, what does that mean? It's the culmination. That's the main part of Sukkot. What does that mean? So the Sefer Das Chacham Musar explains. B'Shem, that's right. So that's Rabbi Yerucham. He says that we say in Tefillah on Rosh Hashanah, "U'b'chein tein kavod Hashem le'amecha." What does that mean? We're giving kavod to Hashem's giving kavod to His nation. So that's the Tefillah on Rosh Hashanah when we daven. That's referring to that on Malchus Zodoin, that it will be eradicated very speedily. U'b'chein tein kavod Hashem le'amecha. That's referring to that everything will get revealed, exposed, and everything will get uplifted. Klal Yisrael will get uplifted. And then we say, Simcha lehartzecha v'sasoin lehirecha. There's going to be a happiness in the land. Ubechein sadikim yiru v'yisbuchu. Eim sadikim yiru v'yisbuchu. The sadikim, they're going to see it. They're going to rejoice over it. These are all lines that are sung in shul with that special tune. All of this is referring to kishetavir memshela zodon min ha'aretz. But right now, it's a different story. Now we're at a lower state. So we see that the main simcha for Klal Yisrael, simcha l'arsecha v'sasan lirecha, will be when the enemies get eradicated and when there's a bittul of ra from the world. There's no more bad, no more of these terrible things that are happening. And when's that going to happen? When Hashem is reigning himself. But Kol's man that there's this mimshelas zodon and there's these koichos ra'os, so then there's not going to be the same level of simcha for sure. It's not going to be a simcha shleima. So that is the simcha of Klal Yisrael when all these Rishonim get eradicated, and as well as these umos that try to harm us for no reason whatsoever. So that's when the ra gets completely removed. So we see that according to this, Hoshana Raba is alluding to the falling of the walls of Edom, similar to the falling of the walls of Yericho. That's what we see, these similarities, right? So that's the Gog and Magog, the 70, and it's a day which there's a tremendous amount of simcha because of all of this. Because the main simcha for Klal Yisrael is when the Ra gets completely destroyed, and then there's going to be a tremendous amount of simcha. Mela comes out that this is why Hoshana Rabbah is the culmination and is so crucial, because the whole mahos, the essence of Sukkot, is Zman Simchasenu. What is simcha? Simcha is not just a mitzvah. It's the mohus, it's the essence of the yontif. It's the essence of the yontif. Mamela comes out that on the day of Hoshana Rabbah, which is a simcha, on the eradication of the bad, there's going to be a simcha yaseir, an extra simcha, more than throughout any other time of the yontif, because the main simcha for Klal Yisrael is when the ra gets eradicated. Comes out, that's why Rabbeinu Bachaya said that Hoshana Rabbah is the tachlis chag, because that is the tachlis of simcha, azman simcha seinu. Two other haros within this point, that when the walls of Yericho fell, that was considered that the Ra was eradicated from this world when Klal Yisrael went into Eretz Yisrael, and the Milchama of Yericho was a Milchama which was against the 7 umos. So that was when the Ra was out. The pre-Tzaddik writes that the 7 umos are the shorashim, they're the roots for koichos ra'os, for all these bad forces, and the koichos ra'os in particular, specifically referring to the 70 umos. Mamela comes out that through the wall of Yericho, miraculously falling, and the conquering of Yericho, that was already in the bechina of the eradication of Ra, of the Shivim Umos. But now we need the final stage of that, which will occur in Hoshana Rabbah, and completely wrap it up. One other thing, this is why the day is called Hoshana Rabbah. Why? Hoshana Meloshin Yeshua, it's a salvation. Rabbah, what's the big salvation? What's the big Yeshua? The answer is this, because there's going to be no more Ra. It's going to be tremendous salvation, and therefore it's called Hoshana Rabbah. It's big. Beautiful idea. So that's why this is the culmination, because Sukkot in particular is Zman Simchasenu. There's so much simcha. And Hoshana Rabbah is the climax of that simcha. That's when all the simcha is, when we don't need to worry anymore about these people who are trying to harm us for no reason whatsoever. Beautiful idea. In conclusion of this piece, he ends off by saying, this is why we daven and we ask, we have to daven and we have to request in the tefillah of Hoshana Rabbah that Hashem should save us from these, what he calls Shivim Ze'evim, these 70 walls, 70 nations. They're trying to surround us from all sides. We see what's happening on the floor now. This is recorded. I got to be politically correct. But let's be honest, it was an unprovoked attack. We see what's happening. We didn't do nothing. Came in, raped, murdered, tortured, everything. October 7th, it's the year and 1 day right now. It's October 8th, 1 year later. No reason, surrounded, no reason. We didn't do anything. Where does that come from? People just want to hurt us for no reason. The answer is this. It stems back to Yericho. There were kochos ra'os. It all goes back to Yericho. Unbelievable idea. So we have to daven that Hashem should save us from all of this. And And we already had throughout this long galus, this is the longest galus by far, all of the occurrences that happen, all the terrible ways that we were tortured, that we were murdered, framed, everything that happened throughout this galus. And it's almost that there's not one day that the curse isn't even more than the day that preceded it. When we see that the Midas Hadin, how it's on the world, they're saying now with the hostages, how this situation's deteriorating. There's 101 left officially, maybe 50 are still alive. Who knows what conditions they're in, psychologically, emotionally, all of these types of situations, physically, all the leaves. Who knows what's going on? People are forgetting about them now because of everything else that's happening. But every single day, it's harder for them and their families. They didn't do anything wrong. They were just being people. So we see every single day it's worse and worse. All the other sorrows that are happening. Talk about all the sorrows in Klal Yisrael. We don't need to list them, but every single day it's memsheles zadoin ba'aretz. Whether begashmi beruchni, people have problems this way, that way. We see all the issues over here. Why? These are the koichos atuma which descended over here, and they try to get us over here. And you have all these different things over here that are issues. Things that our Zaydis never experienced anything like. It's a very dangerous time. Memshela Zodain, the Kayachara. Therefore, we have to have the intention, we have to have the Kavanah Lamaisa. When we are doing the hakavos, we're going around in the bima with the Dal and Minim, that we're going to be Makabel Oma Chushamayim. And then it will be revealed and uplifted. The Malchus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to the extent that we'll be zoiche to see the downfall of the walls of Edom, similar to the falling of the walls of Yericho. And furthermore, the hakavos allude to that Hashem is surrounding us and saving us as well. So that's an idea as well. We have to have that kavanah as well, like the Marsha writes in Sukkah Memhei. Kavanos hakavos shishmerenu hakel misaviv mitzarenu. Hashem will provide them, because Hashem at the end of the day is the real person who's protecting us. That's what it comes down to. And that's similar to Yericho. That's what we anticipate. That's what we hope for. When will this come, this Geula, this Yeshua, that will reveal the Malchus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu properly, and will be Zoiche for the Simcha G'dayla when Mashiach comes. And then all the Ra will be completely eradicated from the world, and there's going to be a tremendous Simcha for Klal Yisrael, for the whole world, peace everywhere. And that this galus, this bitter galus, and this long galus will end, and we're going to hear Kol Mevasim Mevaso Eimer. The voice is going to come and tell us the time for the Geula came, and it's going to be a simcha l'Aretzecha v'Sasan l'Recha, tremendous simcha for the land and for the year, Smichas Kerem l'David Avdecha, etc. And that's basically how he ends this piece. Now, one ha'ara, a few ha'aras that I'd like to add on this. I'm gonna do a screen share to no one because everyone's here, but okay. But I'm gonna open up this Yeshua document.
Isn't it like
I want to say a few ha'aras.
Oh,
I don't know the gematria.
Recording.
Yeah, it's still on. I wanna share a few ideas. You can say whatever you want though. I don't care. But I'm not listening to this. But okay. So I'm gonna do over here. How do you get that thing in references? How do you get that thing in Control F?
Control F. What?
I thought it was a 7
word
Hoshanas.
search.
Yeah, where is that under?
Like 7. There's a lot of 7.
No, it's
a
in-
lot of 7.
Yeah. There's a lot of settings. I wanted to.
7 times for a Kala.
Yeah, what is this? Control F. No, that's not the one that I was looking to. Why am I blanking on this thing? I always know where it is. I think it's references. Why is the thing not coming up? Oh, review? No, it's either home or references. Where's that Control F? Is this thing blocking? Oh, fine. There it is. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, that thing was blocking it. Okay. So I just did this before quickly. I looked at it for just a few minutes. I opened this Yeshua document. Okay. Just want to point out a few things. And if you're more interested in doing a deep dive on the walls, you could go to this Yeshua over here. So a few haras about the walls, okay, that were not pointed out here. The Radak says that the Goyim, they used to perform kishuf back then in the time of Yericho, witchcraft, which they had. We had prophecy back then, and they had real witchcraft that they could do, real magic, black magic. It's a real thing, and it was more real back then. We have a recording somewhere on Parsha, I think in like Parsha's Bow or something, somewhere around there. We discussed that. There's a whole piece from Emes Yaakov and others that that when they had the Nevuah, so then they could have the black magic, but if we don't have it, so they're not. They go hand in hand. Al Kopanim, Kalev and Pinchas were the most fit to identify the type of witchcraft that was being used to nullify the witchcraft that they were using. So he says that's what it means that they were sent in Charish. Pashut Pshat means silently, but it could also mean a form of witchcraft. Later on, they circled the walls of Yericho 7 times, 7 Kohanim blowing the shofar 7 times. This process removed these koichos ra'os, this witchcraft. So that's another mahalach, and the shadim. So it's another mahalach of 7 times. Just wanted to point that out. Another idea, and this is on the recordings, fresh, beginning of the 6th parak on Yeshua. Rabbi Dessler says a beautiful idea. The symbolism of the process of blowing the shofar and encircling the city is based on what the Rambam writes in Hilchos Tshuva, well-known Rambam, that the shofar, we should wake up from our spiritual slumber, right? So that's the idea over here. So the key to Klal Yisrael is Hatzlacha. Whenever we want Hatzlacha, Tshuva and Emunah on HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to have faith in Hashem, Torah mitzvahs, that's what it comes down to. So the Jews were elevated and then worthy of this miracle. Yericho, like other idolatrous cities of Canaan, absorbed its spiritual nature from the evil forces that were everywhere. By encircling the city, this symbolized that they were isolating Yericho from the other evil forces. It was like a chokehold. They were choking off the city. It was like a siege, and from its wellspring, from its source. On the 7th day that process was completed, Yericho was completely isolated from its spiritual negative survival. When that happened, its protector, aka the walls, sunk into planet Earth. That open miracle was not repeated in future battles, but it's symbolized at the onset of Klal Yisrael's wars and conquests that the ultimate hatzlacha was in the hands of Hashem, not how prepared we were, strategy, our numbers, and therefore that's another mahalach. The Radak says that the purpose of the shofar, maybe walking around also, was to confuse the inhabitants. So that's another pshat on Yericho, which it all goes back to because it's all Hoshana Raba. And then, yeah, so fine. So that's the Radak's mahalach. Another mahalach is to instill fear in them, right? So to confuse them, or to show that it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu that's running the show. It's not us. Another reason, Kabbalistic reason. So far, I think we're at like 7 reasons for why they did this in Yericho, which we should all be thinking about during the hakavos as well. There were also 7 altars, and then you had 7 cows, 7 rams. 7th day of the week is the most chashuv. Shabbos, 7 months, also has significance. 7th year is important. Shemitah, there's a lot of 7 times 7, Yovel. So there's a tremendous amount of 7s. 7 days of Pesach, Sukkot, Rabaged, 7 days in a week. There's a lot of 7s. I referenced over here, Sivi, he got it to Parshas Ve'eschanan, Daled Kama. Hey, I didn't write what's there, Ayin Sham, to see if you went even more on that. On another level, there's a tremendous amount of symbolism behind circles in general, which is what we're doing with hakavos. Circles, the circle of life, cycles of the world. The world doesn't stay the same. It's constantly changing. We're always able to improve, keep moving, go on. On the other hand, when things are going well, we can't be just getting the feeling like, oh, everything is secure. Who says this idea over here? This is an arichos over here. Oh, then Mom always, game over once he gets going. Mom always just doesn't stop. Okay, so this is gonna keep going. Yeah, all right. Let's see what he says with circles. We're talking about circles. I didn't even look at this. I haven't seen this in months, years, baby. 7 times. Okay. Oh, very interesting. Okay, so we can't just get caught up by just pursuing worldly pleasures instead of striving to improve ourselves spiritually. 7 times that we go around are symbolic of 7 stages of a person's life. Oh, this is right. I remember this vaguely. When he's born, he's like a king. Everyone rushes to see him. They hug him. They kiss him. They take care of his every need. When he's 2 or 3, he reaches stage 2. He becomes like a pig. He's always trying to gratify his own desires. He goes about getting into all sorts of filth. Leave a kid out in the dirt. See what they do. The 3rd stage is when he's 10. He's like a young goat. He's full of life, running, jumping around. When he's 18 or 20, he's like a horse. His body has developed. It's hilarious. And with it, his pride. He enjoys dressing up, showing off his kayach and his youthful vigor. All he thinks about is how to impress the girls and winning their hearts. So we see nowadays that many young men grow their hair long, or they have their hair designed in the latest styles. It is an age when the temptation of vanity is very great. Very dangerous sin. After he marries, he becomes like a donkey that must spend his time carrying heavy burdens. Tell me about it. He toils to provide for his wife and satisfy her every desire. When he begins to have children, he reaches the sixth stage. Oh, that's me. He becomes insolent and shameless like a dog. He grabs what he could to support his family, shows no concern for the needs of others. When he gets old, he reaches the seventh stage. Mom ways is fiery. This is great. His face becomes wrinkled, and he can no longer take proper care of himself. It's like a monkey. No one takes him serious anymore. His whole family no longer shows him respect, and even the children make fun of him. So it is so that's what it's like for people who don't learn Torah. But those who spend their time learning, they earn respect and honor throughout their lives. Whether they're scholars or simply working people who come each day to Shurim in the shul, Torah guides them faithfully all their days and preserves them in old age. Pasuk David HaMelech says, even though he was old, right? It's the pasuk says that David was old. Even though he was old, he's still a king. He had all the kavod that he had in his youth. Regarding those who spend their time learning, the pasuk says, the righteous will blossom like a pine tree, right? Tzaddik Amar Yifrach, etc. They're just going to speak Torah even when they're old. To be vigorous and fresh. So it's connected these 7 things. The word vanity is mentioned 7 times in this pasuk. Hevel, volam, halakol, hevel. 7 times in that pasuk. 7 stages of a man's life. Unbelievable. So that's basically the Mamle's shot. One other shot. Okay, when they were going around the walls, they had to figure out exactly where Rachav was located. Another hara. And then on the footnote of what we discussed before, in footnote 482 in this document that I wrote on Sefer Yeshua on Simchas Torah and Hoshana Raba, we make 7 hakavos. When someone gets married, the kala circles around the chassan 7 times. It's a tremendous amount of symbolism with 7. It's like you're building a wall, symbolic wall, chassan around the kala. Unbelievable, beautiful Torah, and that's basically all I have to say about. You still happy about the Mamle's? Yeah, Mamle's is hilarious. He's no one you can't compare. So that's basically the additional haros that I thought were very interesting on Hoshana Raba. So hope everyone enjoyed. I know I enjoyed this piece. The first time I learned this was today. That's when I'm up there. Maimer Pei Aleph. I've got that's it. Just 50 pages more. Great sefer. So with my haros. All right. Shkoyach everyone for coming. Beautiful night.
Make a joke about that. The woman 7 times around the husband
Yeah.
to break him down.
Yeah, to make it.
Some things to come.
Yeah, good
I
stuff.
just sent it to the guys. One guy said, "Did I type this myself?" I'm gonna say it's the Rav's halacha morning halacha.
Oh yeah. Okay.